Hello and welcome to another video update here on the MCO Global Asia channel. I want to take a look at MetaPlanet with you today. Before we do that, we're going to start with Bitcoin because before we get into MetaPlanet, we need to understand the bigger picture, and that's the evolving role of Bitcoin on corporate balance sheets, but also we want to understand what the price is actually doing. So we'll do the Elliott wave analysis first on Bitcoin. But why do we talk about MetaPlanet here today? So it's important to understand that more and more companies, right, are beginning to treat Bitcoin not just as a speculative asset, as it's widely still done, but more like a strategic asset. It's kind of a digital reserve currency, and this is obviously where MetaPlanet comes in. It's a Japanese public company that has gone through a complete transformation over the past few years. Originally involved in hospitality, technology, MetaPlanet has now become, or rather repositioned itself, as a Bitcoin-focused firm and sometimes even called the MicroStrategy of Asia. Now, before we begin with the analysis, I wanted to show you here on Bitcoin Magazine Pro's hodl board, the different or actually not the different, but the top 20 public treasury companies. And you see that MetaPlanet is number 4 here, 30,823 BTCs, in their treasury. So that's commitment. MetaPlanet now holds tens of thousands of Bitcoin, right, on the balance sheet, and it places it among the largest public holders in the world. And you can see it's the only one from Japan, actually the only one from Asia in the top 10. And that's a big deal for Asia because it shows how quickly this region is starting to catch up in the global Bitcoin adoption story. But a lot of them still, very much still US focused here, right? So yeah, in today's video, we want to talk about the Elliott wave structure for Bitcoin to see where we are in the larger cycle. And then we'll also take a closer look at MetaPlanet, what the company or the stock actually shows us, the stock's chart, right, compared to Bitcoin. So let's go and take a look at the Bitcoin chart. By the way, if you're also interested in checking out a lot of the charts here, data, Bitcoin-focused treasury data, cycle charts, and everything, you can use the link in the comment section. It's from Bitcoin Magazine Pro. They are our research partner. We've negotiated a 20% discount for the memberships, or the subscriptions rather, for MCO members. So feel free to check it out. Let's take a look at Bitcoin first. Why is it so important to understand Bitcoin's chart first? Well, they kind of correlate a little bit together, but it's not as easy as that, as I will explain on the MetaPlanet chart, but still they are correlating to a degree. So should Bitcoin start to move up, then MetaPlanet will also probably start to move up. They're not always correlating perfectly, but they are kind of moving together to a degree. Yeah, different wave degrees, they correlate in direction, you could say, yeah, but not necessarily in wave degree and extensions. So Bitcoin, and that's very important to understand, is now in an environment, in an area where a major cycle top could form really at any time. Yeah, a major cycle top can form at any time. We have something that, from an Elliott wave point of view, which is the model that we're using, we call it a 5-wave move up from the 2022 low, where the low formed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That fifth wave is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as well. And that's exactly what we want to see, because from an Elliott wave perspective, 5 waves indicate the trend direction. And even in the fifth wave of the fifth wave, we have 5 waves. Now, a lot of people say, well, we can't have topped yet because normally we see euphoria. But Elliott wave explains to us that we are in this cycle in a wave 5 or 5 or 5 or 5 or 5. So a lot of fifth waves there, of a larger degree third wave, but basically the very end of a third wave. And third waves are the most aggressive cycle trends in a cycle, right? That's typically where euphoria is generated. But obviously, as we get very, very much to the end of that third wave, in every cycle, euphoria reduces a bit. And you see it on our long-term chart. While in previous cycles, hold on, let me open that. While in previous cycles, we were very much in third waves. Now, this is the 2021 top. or here it was the fifth wave, but also of a third wave, yeah, but different wave degree, all within a much larger third wave. So what I want to communicate here, much more in the center of that larger third wave, which likely finishes in this cycle. Whereas now we are like in the fifth wave of the fifth wave. So the sentiment, the momentum is kind of reduced. And it means we need to understand the Elliott wave context. Because from a chart perspective point of view, it might mean, and nothing is guaranteed, right? But it might mean we will not see this euphoria that a lot of people are still expecting. So a lot of people, on one hand, are expecting a lot of euphoria, and they say we can't have topped because there hasn't been euphoria. Whereas I would argue, Elliott wave tells us we don't need to see euphoria, and it would actually be not unusual not to see much euphoria in this cycle. So we might rather end the cycle with less overheated sentiment, yeah. And then you get the people who say we have topped already, even though there's no real data for it, because it's kind of, there are extremes. My view is that we could still see another high. I would slightly prefer another high in this cycle, another rally, maybe to new all-time highs, to 130k plus. But the risk is very high because Elliott wave tells us we could have topped already, but a full wave count does not confirm a top. A full wave count just means caution is recommended, okay? So it means, hey, we are where we could top, but it's not confirmed. We are in an environment where we are still holding relevant support levels. You see, we're still holding above this critical 55-week exponential moving average, the EMA, which has been with us throughout this bullish cycle. Yeah, we spent the last couple of years above this one. It's currently trading around 98,500. We're above it. Until we get at least a weekly close below this level, I think it makes sense to at least consider we might see some further upside. That being said, being that late in the cycle means, first of all, a major top wouldn't be a surprise, but we have no evidence for a top. But it also means the price action becomes more muted, very choppy, difficult. I see this as a very difficult range here. As you can see, Bitcoin is only moving sideways, very, very difficult. But until we break actually below the 55-week exponential moving average, there is no sign at all that we have formed a major top. It is possible that specifically from this region, if we can break above initial resistances, especially here in the area between 113,460 and 121,750, that we start a rally towards 136k. If that happens, it would have a positive impact on MetaPlanet probably as well. And as you will see, there is a chance for a bounce on the MetaPlanet chart. I see the risk that we form a larger correction first before we go up. Basically, it's a sideways range at the moment where we're simply waiting for clear signals. The market hasn't figured out what it wants to do, but basically the door for one more high remains open. But we need to break above this resistance area first to open the door for all-time highs. I mean, at least 119,530. So if from the current region, and the current region has the potential to form a low, if we see upside, that could be beneficial for MetaPlanet. I have to say specifically, even in a bullish scenario, there is room all the way down to 98,500 first. Now looking at MetaPlanet. This is obviously on the Japanese, exchange. It's the home exchange. You see that also MetaPlanet performed really well. Obviously not a very long-term chart. It's very young, especially from that low here. But it's been correlating with Bitcoin quite a bit. And now, since June, actually, it's in a large correction. So you see, it's not perfectly correlating with Bitcoin because Bitcoin made a new all-time high in October. Very important to understand. Currently selling pressure. And this move to the downside looks like a 5-wave move down, which is why my view is that we might have a major top already formed. Because a 5-wave move down means there could be some further downside. But there is scope, very clear scope, for at least another bounce. And this is whether Bitcoin forms another high or also gives us a larger rally, this is what MetaPlanet could do. In the orange scenario, in which we have a major top, where we are looking for a larger 5-wave decline, which could be bear market, for Bitcoin. That could be when Bitcoin goes into a bear market. MetaPlanet would likely drop in the third wave. We could, before we see that, see another bounce. Into the resistance area, which is currently between 716 and 1,386. It's only likely going to be a corrective bounce because this is a 5-wave decline. From a more bullish perspective would be the white scenario, in which, because of the 5-wave move down, we also expect only a corrective bounce, but B waves sometimes go a bit higher. They could even overshoot technically, and then the next move down would only be a C wave. But either way, the next bounce is expected to be corrective. It could happen from this region. Maybe we go a little lower first. There is likely some strong support in the region around 285. Looking at indicators like specifically the daily chart, you see that the market is oversold and there is a small bullish divergence here on the daily time frame. Higher low on the RSI, on the relative strength index, lower low on the price chart. The risk is here. The risk is here we break down and invalidate this bullish divergence, yeah. But there is something to watch for, right? We are oversold, yeah. It's been a long time since it was that oversold. Very much oversold, and I mean, my view is it has seen the cycle high. A larger correction is due. The 5-wave move down tells me that. And the move up ended as a 3-wave pattern. And we have 5 waves down. That indicates the trend is rather down. But there is still exactly from here, from this region, right? I mean, it can drop a bit lower, but we haven't seen any major recovery yet. But there is scope in the near future for a bounce, and that could be wave 2 or wave B. When that starts, I can update you, but it's certainly the area here to watch for it. We can also, and this is a bit unclear on this chart, but we can try to identify some targets for that internal 5th wave to the downside. Normally, what we're looking for is either the 61.8 extension or the 78.6, sometimes the 50. We'll see which one is relevant, but you see we're already exactly at the 38.2 extension. More likely would be the 61.8 extension, but not needed. This is actually the target zone where we could form a low. So something to watch: 393, 334, 284, and 226. I'll keep you updated. Hope you enjoyed it. If you appreciate the daily analysis, make sure that you give the video a thumbs up, give it a like, subscribe. Let me know also which other stocks or assets from the Asian markets you would like to see covered here. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.